So there was a lot of anger floating around, I think, after the Chelsea game the other night, losing 3-2 down at Stamford Bridge. A few defensive errors, a few individual errors, and Eddie Howe basically taking all of that on board. I think one of the accounts on social media, describing Newcastle as spineless, and Eddie Howe saying today that he was pretty sure that whoever said that meant it, but it's up to him and the players now to go and prove people wrong, and this game is a perfect opportunity to do it. I think the big talking point in terms of fitness was that Anthony Gordon has trained, partially trained yesterday, and will train again today. They're just getting ready outside there now to go training, so that's going to be an interesting one for Newcastle fans, how much of a part he plays. He's been such a key player, and I'm sure he won't want to miss this game. You look at the game at Chelsea the other night when he came off, and I think Newcastle lost a bit of I know they scored 2 goals, but I think they lost a bit of impetus when he went off, so I think he would be a key star for Newcastle if they can get him on the pitch. The other big talking point really was after this one, Newcastle will be flying to Dubai for a warm weather training camp. They've done that in the last couple of years under Eddie Howe. It's more a player recovery thing, really, given the schedule that they've had. But the players that are on international duty won't be there, which would include Anthony Gordon, who's in the England squad. But the ones who are left will certainly be flying over to the Middle East for a bit of warm weather training, bit of sun on the back, and also hard work. So that's going to be an interesting trip for the players. I think it'll be more low-key affair, whereas in the past I think there's been sort of media access, interviews, stuff like that. I don't think this trip will be like that. So for Eddie Howe, he knows that the players can have no excuses when they come back for those last 10 Premier League games. They'll have to finish on a high, something he's vowed to do in there today. But overall, I thought quite positive from Eddie Howe this morning, given the negativity of Stamford Bridge. But Newcastle now, they've reached the defining part of their season. They've got to, hopefully, it can go 2 ways. If they get knocked out of the cup, then it's all going to be pressure heaped on for those last 10 games. If they make it the semi-finals, then we're going to be celebrating for the next 2 weeks the fact that Newcastle are going to Wembley, and there'll be a scramble for tickets. So it's really, really on a tight balancing rope, and Newcastle United fans will go into that high wire act at the weekend knowing that their emotions could be one way or the other. It's just, there's no sort of middle ground in this one. It's not going to be going back and getting a draw for a replay. It's got to be decided on the day, and the season could tilt either way at the Etihad Stadium. So it's one where, if you're a football fan, you've got to buy into that enthusiasm, and hopefully Newcastle can play the role of underdogs and pull off a huge result.